All right, so today we're going to animate this crankshaft, these pistons. The crankshaft is the only thing that's going to be animated, and it's only going to be animated with two keyframes. And the pistons are just going to be constrained to it with aim constraints and point constraints. We're going to use locators, and so constraining is very, very handy in animation. You can do a lot of automation with it. A lot of rigging of characters involves constraints. And what's really fantastic about constraints is that like you can animate this whole thing just with those two keyframes and have everything else move on its own. So let's dive in here. One of the things that some of the things you're gonna learn with this is also parenting objects by holding down the middle mouse button and moving objects onto other objects, and then also um, the order with which you select objects is vital with this. And there's a little acronym of, or no, just a little mnemonic of driver driven. And so the first thing that you select is the driver, and the second one is what is driven by the driver. All right, let's get right to it. So starting with selecting the crankshaft, making sure it's at 0, we go to rotate Z, click on it, right click, and key select it. You could just press S, but I want to just do 1 just to show you that you don't always need to keyframe everything. Put it to 100 and 360, enter, and then click on that, right click, and now that's going. So, but we do have the ease in, ease out, and we don't want that. And what we do to fix that is we go into the graph editor. You can see the ease in, ease out. I'm going to select both of those keyframes. We will change them to linear tangents, and now it's going just like so at a constant velocity, but it stops at 100. So we want to keep that going. We select the last one, we go to curves, post infinity, cycle, and now it keeps going past 100. Huzzah. All right, so with that done, let's make sure that it's at 0. Most of the time it's going to have to stay at 0. And then we're going to hide everything else but this connecting rod. So I selected the connecting rod and I press Alt-H and I go to the front view, and now I create a locator. There it is. I'm going to put that right in the middle of this. No need to be super accurate. You can see it's the locator, or the connecting rods are already a little bit tilted. Make sure it's in on both views of the front and the side. And then we will click on the crankshaft, press H to make it show back up. And now what we'll do with this is we're going to parent the locator to the crankshaft. First, you need to rename it. Very important to rename or to name your locators in this project, because you'll have 3 locators per piston, and you want to know what in the world each one is for. So we'll call this one crank locator 1. So we parent this, and we hold down, we click it, and then we hold down the middle mouse button, and we drag it on top of the crankshaft. Now when you rotate it around, you'll see that it rotates along with the crankshaft. All right, now we could just keep making these crank locators and put them in each of the locations, but I want to do just one piston first here. Okay, so now we have that one, and our next step, and I have a little list here of how it goes together, and there's no shame in making lists because there's so many ways of doing things in Maya that unless you do them every day, they're not going to get immediately stuck into your long-term memory. So we have that. Now we want to create the crank locator. So we select the crank locator and we control select the connecting rod. So that's the driver and that's the driven. The locator is the driver, and the connecting rod is what is driven. And then we go to constrain, and you can also do that in the menu at the top, but make sure that you have it set to animation. I think animation to rigging, I always forget. Point and option box. And let's reset this, reset settings. All right, all set. Now we just click on constrain the axis of X and Y. If you constrained all of them, it would be like a parenting. So we just want the one axis to stay stationary. And there we are. And then we can see it's moving around. That looks pretty amazing. I am marveling at myself. And now I go to create, and I'm going to create one locator, and I'm going to press Control D, and that duplicates it. And this one is going to be rod locator _1. This one will be aim locator _1. Okay, so now that we have these guys, we want to move both of them in the right view. We want to move them right into here in our connecting rod. And then I'm going to look in the front view and have it set like that. It's very important that you have it right inside of there on all these three axes. If you don't, you have it somewhere over here, the connecting rod is going to point at that, and that's going to look silly, and then people will point and laugh at you. So now that you have that, let's go to freeze the transforms. That'll take 0 out these guys and move it into the shape. I always forget why it's important for that with constraints, but it's oftentimes important to do that. It's important if you're exporting an object and you into like Unity or Unreal. If you don't have the transforms frozen, then your object will appear off in space somewhere. All right, so we have those guys. Now we're going to let's see, create locator. All right, so now we're going to select the rod locator, and we're going to middle mouse that onto the connecting rod. So we hold the middle mouse button and we move it onto the connecting rod. So what that's going to do is that's going to make that rod locator go right along with the connecting rod, just like we had with the crankshaft. And then we're going to point the rod locator to the aim locator. And so we click the aim locator first because that's the driver that's making the decisions. And the output of that is going to go into the position of the connecting the rod locator. So we click the aim locator, actually into the whole connecting rod. We click the aim locator, then we control click the connecting rod itself. So there's that. Don't control click the locator, the connecting rod locator, just the whole thing. And you also notice if you look here, translate X and Y, those both have these little blue dots on that. And that is saying that the input is coming from another location, not a keyframe. If these were keyframed, those would both be red. So we clicked on the aim locator first, and then we control clicked on the connecting rod. Now we're going to go to constrain, and we're going to go to aim and option box. And let's reset this. All right. So we're going to have all of the axes constrained, but the aim vector is going to be up. So along Y, so we want this to be 0, and we want Y to be 1. And that's good. And now it is aimed. Check that out. Rad. All right, but we have one issue. Not out of the woods yet. So you'll notice that when we look at it, and it's coming down here, it's not fully going right along this axis. So we need to point constrain these guys. So we're going to point constrain the rod locator, and that will keep it right, the 0. We'll keep Y constrained to that point. So we go back to 0, and then we select the rod locator, open that up, and then we control select the aim locator, and so that's the driver and the driven. That doesn't seem to work right, but this is an important thing. So rod locator first, aim locator second, and then we go to constrain, we go to point, option box. Now we're not doing X and Y here, we're only doing Y. That's if we did X and Y, nothing would change, but Y will keep it constrained. Then we click on add, and now there we are. Awesome. All right, so now we want to put the piston head onto the piston. And so let's press H on that and make sure it's back to 0. Click on the piston head, and then we middle mouse button that onto the aim locator. And there we are. If you select everything, looks lovely. Great job, us. And then I'm going to save that. All right, so now let's do the rest of them, and let's do them all together. We can do them all individually, but you know, where's the fun in that? So let's create 3 locators. 1, 2, 3. And these are going to be our crank locators. Crank locator 2, crank locator 3, crank, no, 4. You might want to do them all independently because of the repetition of doing the action might actually be very beneficial to make sure that the concept gets into your fingers. I'm going to display all, and so we have 3 locators there, and then I'm going to hide this guy, select these guys, select that one, and hide that. So now we have the locators. And I'll look at from the front view, and now we're going to take locator 2 and 3, and we're going to put that to the center right here. All right. That's good. And then locator 4 is for the 4th piston, and I'm going to put that right into the 4th piston right there. And then I'll go to the right view, select 2 and 3. I'm just going to select 2 because both of those are different. And I'll select 3, and I'll put that over there. I'll select 4, and move that over there. All right, we're good to go there. Now let's unhide the crankshaft, and let's put these guys, select all 3 of them, middle mouse them onto the crankshaft. There we are. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. And so now all of them should move along, little doggies. Save that. Okay, so now what we want is we are going to select the crank locator. Connecting rod. Yes, there we go. So we're going to select the 2nd crank locator. Then we're going to control select the connecting rod associated with it. Then we're going to go to constrain, and we're going to go to the point option box, and we're going to make sure it is, oh, we can reset it, always handy, X and Y, and add. Second one's good. Let's do the third one. Third, select the connecting rod first, control click the connecting, first select the crank locator 3, and then control select the connecting rod 3. And then we go to point constraint, option box, and XY, add. That's good. Let's do the last one and select the crank locator 4, and then control click the connecting rod 4, point constraint, X and Y, add. Lovely. Look at that. It's a beauty. All right, so our next thing is we need to have locators for each of these top pieces here. So we can go here to create, and we're going to create one locator and duplicate that. And let's put those in the proper location. Make sure we're selecting both there, and put it right up here. And that looks about, yeah, that's about right. All right, that's good to go. Now, what we can also do, since we just created those two there, is we can duplicate both of those and move them right over here. Let's make sure in the front view that they are where they need to be. I'm going to just select those and unhide that. I'm going to just show everything. Show all, and select all of these locators and connecting rod 2 and 3, and hide everything else. There we go. So not exactly in the exact location we want. I want to move them up a little. Very important to make sure that these guys are in the right spot. All right, and also important to freeze their transformations. There we go. Perspective. All right. Lovely. So let's name them too. So this one is what do we call them? Rod locator. So this one is rod locator 2. And this one is aim locator 2. This one is rod locator 3 for the third piston, and aim locator 3. Now let's also make the last one. So we're going to show all, and let's click that and hide everything. So now we're going to select these guys, and we're going to duplicate them. I'm going to move over here, and look at that. It even named it correctly, rod locator 4. And let's go to the right view so it's the right spot. And then look at the front view. There. Good, good, good. And then freeze the transforms. Go to perspective. Let's show everything. Display, show all. Okay, now let's save it. Let's hide this guy. Hide these guys. So what do we need to do? They're all in the right spot, but now we need to parent the rod locator onto the rod. So is that what our next thing is? Rod. Yes. So rod locator and we're going to leave the aim locator. Remember, that doesn't get parented. So rod locator 2, yep, rod locator 2, and then you middle mouse drag it onto the connecting rod 2. Now that should move with it. Awesome. And now rod locator 3, and we're going to middle mouse drag that onto connecting rod 3, and that one should be going. Rod locator 4, middle mouse drag that onto connecting rod 4, and that should be going. Brilliant. All right, so now on to the next one. Now we're going to do the connecting, or the aim locator. So the first thing we do is we click on the aim locator on the second piston, and then we control select the connecting rod for the associated aim locator. So that's aim locator 2, control select the connecting rod 2, and then we go to constrain, aim, option box. Let's reset that. And remember that Y is up, so just that change in all axes. Add. Nice. All right. Let's do that for the rest of them. So the rest of them, we click on the aim locator first. So aim locator 3, control click onto the connecting rod, and then we go to constrain, aim, and then the option box. And remember, it's the one up, all axes. And there's that. All right, so last one, click the aim locator, control click the connecting rod, go to constrain, go to aim, and option box, up, all constrained, add. All right. So next thing we need to do is, like we did with the other one, we need to do a point constraint to make sure that it's just moving along the y-axis. And so we select the rod locator and control select the aim locator. So there we are. So we'll go connect we select the rod locator, and that's 2, and then we control select the aim locator. See why we have a list to do this? It's crazy. Okay, so rod locator 2, aim locator is second, and then we go over to constrain, point constraint option box, and only on the Y. So everything's good, just on the Y. Add. Lovely. Let's do that to the rest of them. Open that up. Rod locator 3 to aim locator 3. And constrain, point, only on Y. Add. Lovely. Last one. Rod locator 4 to aim locator 4. And then constrain, point constrain, option box, only Y. There we are. All right, so now what we need to do is we need to, let's hide all these guys, or compress these guys. So now we have the piston heads. Let's show them all. Let's display all. Display, where are you? Why am I not seeing display? Oh, there it is. Show all. All right, so the piston heads are not connected there. So make sure that this is at 0. And then we take piston head 2, and we move, and we middle mouse that onto aim locator 2. And that's connected. Piston head 3, middle mouse that on aim locator 3. Piston head 4, middle mouse that on aim locator 4. Look at how pretty and organized that is. Now when we look at here, it's all set. Deselect that, put it on shaded view, and there we are. There's our engine, moving very slowly. I want to make it look a little bit more engine-like. Cut that. have some ease in, ease out issues over there. Why is that? Ah, so it undid it. There we go. Beautiful. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching.